Hello everyone, welcome back to Review and Rate. Today, we're entering into a world of time traveling and powerful governments. That's right, we're going to freeze the time and move around in these dangerous places to talk about Quantum Break, a game developed by Remedy and released in 2016. If you're a fan of fast action combat, time powers, and amazing visuals, you won't want to miss this review. Now, let's watch this episode of Wait, What? And get ready to enter the world of Quantum Break. Quantum Break offers good gameplay and mechanics, but it wastes too much time on watching instead of focusing more on playing. The game is split into three different parts: gameplay, cutscenes, and live action sequences. This is a really weird choice of making the game, because it feels like they wanted to do those real life scenes just so they don't create more cutscenes or even gameplay. This is not about making it feel like a TV show, because like I mentioned in my review of Alan Wake, I actually liked having that in a TV show like format. But here, it's very different, because the live action scenes not only prevents you from actually playing the game, but also it looks dumb from the way it was presented. I appreciate turning gameplay scenes into real world locations, which I will talk about in the graphics part of the review. But just don't keep the player's focus out of the gameplay, because it will be boring and it takes away everything that makes a game fun. But anyways, these parts are put into 5 acts, and part of those acts consist of levels, which include the ones I talked about, and one choice level where you decide how do you want the story to continue, which I really liked as the story's events changes based on the player's pick. The levels vary in many different ways, displaying different locations, enemies, weapons, etc. The game is played in third person, giving players the freedom to move and see everything around them. Saving is really terrible here. I don't know why, even in Control, there are no save files, which completely ruins the game because if you want to replay, you will lose everything you have collected or unlocked. And I don't understand why you can't manually save. Just add this option, because it's easier and much simpler to save this way. Thankfully though, Quantum Break gives you the option to replay the game from timeline, so you won't have to lose everything. But it's still annoying that you can't replay a new game. Moving on. Progressing through levels is very simple. Just follow the objectives, and if you are lost, turn on the vision ability, look where it's pointing to, and go there. This ability is very helpful, as it not only shows the destination, but also differentiates between enemies as red, explosive equipment as orange, and helpful tools as blue. Also not to mention telling you how to solve a puzzle. While it is a bit strange for the game to tell you how to solve a puzzle in some ways, the game still let you think by yourself of how to solve the rest of it, which I think is really creative. For example, this puzzle of lifting up this thing. Here, while the game tells you that you have this thing that you need to work with, you still have to think about how to keep the lift up so you can jump onto it and pass through there, and that's how all puzzles work out. Exploring is also fun, as you find all kinds of collectibles throughout the game. Things like stories found on notebooks and computers, chronon sources used to upgrade your abilities, and surprisingly Alan Wake references, reminding the player of that amazing game. In addition, you have the ability to have conversations with other characters, but I hoped there was an option to choose what to say to them instead of your character talking what the game wanted him to say. Not to mention listening to conversations that happened sometimes in the past in a certain place. Very good things to have. Talking about abilities, I think they are the best thing in the game, especially using it against enemies. There is the freeze time ability, which is mostly used on puzzles and when the game wants the world to freeze suddenly, so you can see all the amazing stuff as you walk past everything frozen. Secondly, the shield ability. Obviously it shields the player from any attack the enemy does. The charge time ability, which acts like a grenade that you create a big time circle and it kills a large number of enemies. Finally, the time rush ability, which is kind of like sprinting, but with a speed way higher than any normal person, and then punch enemies when you get close to them. I wish there was normal sprinting, because I think the character doesn't move in a good speed, and that annoys me sometimes as I get into other places. But it's not that major of a problem. Movement in general is realistic, even though some people might not like that, In my opinion, I think it is great. Abilities can be upgraded, and these improvements help the player more, especially in higher difficulties, because the game gets harder as you progress. The abilities also cool down each time you use them, giving a fair way to play with and use them against tougher enemies. Since enemies are tough, you will take a lot of damage trying to fight them, so you have to regenerate your health automatically by staying away from enemies' bullets, which I think works for this game specifically. One thing I think is missing from this game is stealth. Stealth is kind of shown when you get to enemy encounters, but you can't really stay undetected because the game sadly isn't made for it. I think it would have been much better if we had that option in order to have variety in how to approach the enemies, which in turn would make it much more fun. But the enemy will detect you once you do anything or just get near them, so whatever. The only available option is action combat, which I think is amazing despite it feeling repetitive sometimes. First, in addition to having abilities, you can defeat enemies using weapons. That's right. Weapons and abilities together create a terrific combat experience. There are a lot of weapon variety, and you have the ability to choose between what weapon you want, depending on the level and the available weapons found and can be picked up. A lot of ammo is available in all of the levels, especially the infinite ammo bag, and also acquiring any kind of pistol, which all of them have infinite ammo, so you never have to worry about running out. I could say that I wish there was melee weapons, but I guess abilities will substitute that, because it is technically the same but better, so nothing really wrong here. During combat situations, you are able to really shoot anything, so things like tanks and cars that explode whether on you or enemies. It can be annoying sometimes when any of those things explode on me during combat, so I have to restart the checkpoint, but they are very satisfying when you make good use of them against the enemies. Finally, getting to enemies in general, they are really good and tough to fight, like really tough, despite their AI acting stupid sometimes, like what you see here. Other times, they are smart when they approach the player to shoot at them, and throw grenades when I am hiding, which much makes it fun fighting them in many situations. Enemies vary, each one based on their armor, their ability, and how they attack the player, giving them unique kind of skills. The most enemy I had difficulty with is this one, as you have to use the time rush ability and shoot the thing behind him before he turns around. And not only that, but he also doesn't let you breathe a second even when I take cover. He is still able to kill me, so I really appreciate these kinds of enemies. Very clever. Last thing is the final boss, the most difficult enemy in the whole game, especially in the harder difficulties. This part took me a while to have the ability to defeat this boss, because you have to think of every second and keep focusing in the game. While it may be a little annoying because of the checkpoint every time you die, I think these kinds of difficult bosses is what makes endings of games much better, as you get satisfied finishing the game. Let's now move on and get to the story. The story of Quantum Break gave me mixed emotions. On the first hand, some characters are great, there are great moments, and the story gives insightful details about how a strong government uses its strategies by actually taking the role of a leader who uses power to do certain things in the world. On the other hand, you have a confusing plot, filled with stupid events, unnecessary scenes, and annoying actions from certain characters. I just don't like that traveling through time stuff. All it does is let the player know that anything is possible when you go to the past, then present, then whatever. Why do I care if Jack can save Beth from being killed by changing past actions? If Beth is saved, then also why Paul's death would be important? He can just come back through time. This just keeps happening until there's really no plot at all. Having a story that something already happened could be undone is pointless in my opinion. Time traveling stuff could be done in a good way if the plots are organized in a way which doesn't mess up any event, but here it doesn't work at all. But anyways, like I said, annoying characters like this guy and soldiers failing to easily kill Liam whether in a car chase or in a laboratory. But I certainly did like Jack, his brother William, Paul, Martin and Beth, even though the story's events are questionable. But let me summarize as best as I can based on what I understood from what is happening, and also based on the choices I made in the game. A person named Jack Joyce went to Riverport University to meet his friend Paul Sirin because he wants to show him his project. On his way, he meets students who are protesting against the Monarch Solutions government. Paul shows Jack his project, some kind of time machine, which he hid from Jack's brother William. It turns out that William knew, so he tries to stop Paul from using the machine, but it's too late. Both Jack and William find themselves being chased by Monarch forces. Then they find out that Paul got to the past and is now taking control of Monarch. Paul then kills William and takes Jack as a prisoner. Using his powers, Jack escapes. Then Liam Berg and Bess Wilder, who used to work for Monarch, turn against them secretly, while Monarch is using PR to frame Jack as a dangerous person. Jack then rescues Amy from using her as a PR device. Then they two go with Bess to William's machine, learning that Sophia Emerald might know more about turning it on, so Jack hands himself to Monarch. Paul then talks with Jack to get more close to him. Then Bess gets him out, and eventually they get Sophia and get the machine working, while Bess travels to the past. Knowing that Sophia might have done something with the machine, Jack follows Bess, only to see her broken. Then Paul and Bess end up in a fight, getting Bess killed. Then Jack goes back to the Riverport University incident, where he saves William, and they both go back to the machine to solve the time problem once and for all. They end up in the big showdown with Paul, finally killing him and saving the world from Paul's madness. Then the game ends with Jack talking about his past to Monarch, and Jack maybe realizing that time can be changed or something, which in his thought is helping Bess from getting killed. I am not impressed and not looking forward to continuing this story. Maybe Remedy not owning this game anymore is a good thing because of this. But anyways, it's not that good of a story, the one that grabs my attention like Alan Wake and Control. In any case, let's get to a better part, which is the graphics. Quantum Break's graphics exceed every expectation, giving the players fantastic visuals. You really can't believe that this game was released about 8 years ago, because it looks exactly like games released now. The world looks very real, that when you watch the live action episodes, then seeing the gameplay cutscenes, you will notice the detail put into them, turning real world locations into game levels, where you would hardly notice any difference. Adding to that the different enemy types and the characters who look very similar to their real actors. Just take a look at these characters and their actors in the episodes. They look amazingly alike. Wow! Now since we had fun looking at the visuals, let's talk about the sound. The sound design in this game is good. Nothing really that great, but not bad also. There are certainly great soundtracks here and there, especially when you are in a battle with enemies.
Thanks for the heads up.
But no memorable music like Alan Wake and Control. Even the ending songs feel lame compared to those games. Other sounds including enemy voices showing real human reactions to the player attacking them, and the weapon sounds which are normal. In terms of voice acting, I think the main characters did give their best effort, especially the villains in the game.
Get your best man on it.
There's more. As you know, Jack's level of interference led to unexpected complications. Witnesses from the university were transported here. You need to take a look.
However, while the character you play with does a good job in narrating the story with his voice, I just didn't feel that connection to him, just like for example Alan's or Jesse's voices in those games.
Time broke. A growing fracture leading to the end of time. We went after a device that could fix it. Things turned ugly. Paul Serene was there to stop us. He has superpowers.
Jack?
Him and me both. We failed.
But let's finish off with the replayability. Replayability options are not that many in Quantum Break, even though the game is fun on its own. One of the options include playing the game on other difficulties of course, so exploring new ways of challenge. The other option would be to choose the second choice that you didn't pick in your first playthrough and see its effect on the story. Try to find all collectibles on every level to achieve 100% completion and unlock all upgrades for the abilities. Unfortunately, these are the only options for replaying the game. They feel too short because you can really complete all of the options I mentioned in a short time. I know that because I did it once and never returned to the game until I reviewed it now. So now that we covered everything, let's summarize my overall impression. In conclusion, Quantum Break offers good gameplay, fantastic graphics, and a somewhat good sound design. There are many problems of course, like watching boring live action episodes, a mixed story with silly events, and not that many replayability options. But overall it's a fun game that you can enjoy on your first playthrough, and it's good that Remedy doesn't own it anymore. If you think of it as a game on its own that's not connected to the Alan Wake universe, you will be satisfied. And I really don't want a continuation. We will stick with Alan Wake and Control. This is a hard one to guess, but here is the score. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more insightful review videos. Feel free to share your thoughts on whether the points I've raised resonate with you or if you have a different perspective, and leave your suggestions in the comments about which game you'd like to see reviewed next. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you all for watching.